In this video, I'm going to be answering some of the most frequently asked questions about DMT, or dimethyltryptamine, based on almost 10 years of my own experience researching and directly exploring this substance. For those who may not know, DMT is one of the most powerful psychedelic substances known to humanity. This is the same psychoactive compound found in ayahuasca, which has been used for thousands of years by our ancestors in the Amazon rainforest. When it comes to DMT, what we are dealing with here is more than just some psychedelic substance that gives you a hallucinogenic trip. After having tried DMT on dozens of different occasions, I'm now convinced that this is a truly incredible mystery that could be a key for unlocking new discoveries about some of life's biggest questions. For that reason, I've been very passionate about discussing this topic for the past several years now here on this channel. And in that time, I've gotten tons of questions about DMT and the DMT experience. So in this video, we're going to be answering some of them. Let's get started. So first, I just want to give a little bit of relevant background information. And by the way, the whole list of questions that I'll be answering today will be in the video description along with the timestamps if you want to jump around a bit. Starting in the year of 1990, Dr. Rick Strassman conducted one of the first and only clinical studies of DMT. And over the span of 5 years, Dr. Strassman administered more than 400 doses of DMT to more than 60 different study participants. Since that time, Dr. Strassman wrote a book about his research called DMT, the Spirit Molecule, where he describes the DMT experience as a personal encounter with the Big Bang, God, cosmic consciousness, the source of all being. And this just emphasizes the idea that this is a profound experience that goes straight to the heart of some of life's biggest questions. And so while I do not at all intend to glorify or promote the use of DMT, which is illegal and potentially dangerous, I absolutely think that this subject demands investigation and discussion, and that's why I'm making this video. So on to the first question. Is DMT naturally produced by the human body? Yes, it is. DMT has been scientifically confirmed to be naturally produced by the human body. Every single one of us has DMT within our system right now at this moment. And this is one of the very strange mysteries of DMT. Why does it naturally occur in the human body? The most powerful psychedelic substance known to humanity naturally occurs in the body, and we have no idea why that is. To make it even stranger, DMT also occurs in a huge variety of different plant and animal species. It's been found to occur in rats and many different mammals, and even common grass contains trace amounts of DMT. And again, why is that? Like, if you look at it from an evolutionary perspective, there's no apparent reason what evolutionary role this serves and why DMT is found in such a huge variety of plant and animal species. To me, that adds to the intrigue of this mystery. What is going on with this substance, this one random molecule that not only is it intensely psychedelic, but it's also found all throughout the natural world? What does that tell us? Next question, how long does a DMT trip last? DMT is somewhat unique amongst psychedelic substances because it's processed, it's metabolized by the body very quickly. So whereas a psilocybin mushroom trip will last 4 to 6 hours, an LSD trip will last 8 to 12 hours, a DMT trip only lasts around 15 minutes. So it's very intense and very rapid. You're in the experience and then you're suddenly out of it. It's very commonly reported, however, that while you're in the DMT experience, there's no sense of time. It's like this experience is beyond time. It's beyond space and time. A lot of people come back from their DMT trip and report these feelings of time dilation, like it felt as though they spent years or decades or beyond that in this DMT trip while here on Earth only 15 minutes had elapsed. What does DMT feel like? I'm going to try to put this into a few words, which anyone who has tried DMT themselves will tell you that it is impossible to truly capture this experience in words, because it's so unlike any other experience in this human lifetime. This is the most rapid and intense shift in consciousness that I have ever experienced. So you inhale this DMT vapor, you take a big hit, big inhale, and within a few seconds you feel it immediately. It feels like the life force, like the energy in the body has been turned up to maximum volume, like your whole being just starts vibrating with this intense energy. And what happens next, it feels as though the last layer of your humanity is being peeled away, stripped away, almost like this feeling of astral travel where the soul or spirit or consciousness has left the body, has transcended beyond this lifetime and moving through some sort of a tunnel or a portal and emerging in a different place. This experience is like full immersion. It's not like you're looking around and things are looking trippy and wavy. It's like you have been transported into a different place, a different realm, a different dimension of existence beyond space and time. In these DMT realms, it almost seems to be like I'm encountering the divine clockwork, like all the underlying processes that give rise to us and to this entire universe. And this experience can be anything from heavenly to hellish, anything in between and anything beyond. A lot of people report entity encounters in these experiences where when you arrive at these alternate planes or alternate realms of existence, you encounter other beings, and these are often very much learning or healing experiences. Next question, what is a DMT breakthrough? A DMT breakthrough is a term that's used to describe a high-dose DMT experience where, again, it feels as though you have left this lifetime behind temporarily and broken through. It feels like you move through some sort of membrane or barrier and emerge on the other side in a different place that's transcendent. It's beyond the limits of space and time. It's beyond this universe. And interestingly, there's a lot of overlap in the way that these breakthrough experiences are described with near-death experiences as well as mystical experiences. So there, very commonly we have descriptions of moving through a tunnel or a portal, emerging on the other side in some sort of spiritual or transcendent realm or dimension, encountering beings upon arriving there. And these are also often incredibly sacred, profound experiences where it feels like you are in some sort of sacred realm, encountering some sort of infinite or divine reality. And I often describe the DMT breakthrough experience as like a drop of rain that splashes down and hits the ocean. Immediately when that rain splashes down and hits the ocean, it's now unified. It's one with the entirety of a much greater reality. And that's what a DMT breakthrough feels like. It feels like when you emerge in this other realm, all of a sudden you are aware of so much more beyond the limitations of a separate self. It feels like you are now plugged into the greater superstructure of existence, like you can feel and see and directly perceive your interconnectedness with all of life and existence. Next question, what are DMT machine elves? Ah yes, this is a very common question that I get. DMT machine elves. The machine elves is a term that was popularized by the famous psychonaut Terence McKenna, who described in his DMT experiences encountering these mischievous elf-like creatures when he arrived in these DMT realms. And this is one of the most commonly reported features of DMT experiences, is that when we arrive in these alternate realms and dimensions of existence, almost always, very strangely, these other realms of existence are inhabited by, they are populated by a huge variety of different types of beings. Now, the thing about the term machine elf is that in my perspective, this doesn't refer to one type of being that we encounter in the DMT space. Because imagine like all the infinite diversity that we see here on planet Earth, project that outwards into the cosmos and imagine that same diversity multiplied a millionfold. When we arrive in these DMT realms, it's very common that we are encountering other beings, but the types of beings that we are encountering there's a huge range. They can be anything from these machine elf-like creatures to angelic beings to demonic beings, anything in between. So my sense is that DMT machine elves, these are referring to the entities that we encounter in DMT spaces, but it's not like there's only one type of being that we are encountering on DMT. Next question, what is the best set and setting for a DMT experience? The best setting is somewhere where you feel 100% safe and secure, where you feel very comfortable, where you don't have to worry about anyone coming and bothering or disturbing you while you're in this DMT experience. Now, personally, speaking for myself, I've noticed that the best way for me to take DMT and have a profound experience is to take it and lay back where I can essentially just completely forget about my body. And so what that means is I don't want any sort of physical sensory stimulus. I want the room to be a dark room, and ideally I don't even want there to be any music or any conversation or noise in the background. And that's just my own experience, because I've noticed that if there is any music or noise or conversation in the background while I'm in the DMT experience, it feels extremely distracting and extremely like irritating. It almost feels as though every noise or every like physical stimulus for my physical body is dragging me down out. It's like holding me back from going further into the DMT experience. So that's what I would recommend with setting, is you want somewhere where you can be completely comfortable and safe and secure and undisturbed for the duration of the DMT experience. Now, when it comes to set, this is a little bit more of a lengthy and difficult question, because we're talking about the mindset. Like, what is the best mindset to bring into a DMT experience? And let me say that, first of all, leading up to your DMT experience, you want to give yourself plenty of time and space to really become centered and still and present in the body. You don't want your mind to be very overactive. You don't want to be stressed out or worried about taking care of this, that, and the other. Leading into your DMT experience, as much as possible, you want to kind of let go of all of the external distractions, go inwards, meditate, find some peace and stillness. But really beyond that, the entire way that you live your life around the DMT experience is going to determine your mindset leading into the DMT experience, which is then going to have a very significant effect on the outcome or the experience itself. So let me touch on that a little bit more in the next question: how to best prepare for a DMT trip. Now again, as I mentioned, in the hours leading up to the DMT experience, you really want to let go of all of your external distractions and obligations and duties and responsibilities and go inwards more and reflect on some of your intentions, or like, why are you interested in exploring this experience? And then, as much as possible, you really want to let go of any expectations and surrender into a state of presence where you are really like letting go of this need to control how this trip unfolds, because that's where some of the more difficult and challenging experiences come, when we're resisting how this experience is being presented to us. So surrendering into the flow of the experience is extremely important. Now, in terms of broader kind of preparation, how to live your life around the DMT experience, I'll just say this. Number one, I consider it very important to have some sort of meditative practice in your life where you have the ability to become still and calm and present and centered and relaxed in the body, even if there's even if it's an intense situation or a lot of commotion, right? So that's one thing. Having a meditative practice is very important for ensuring best outcomes with DMT and also helping you get the most out of the experience and go travel the deepest with it. If there is a lot of emotional volatility in your life, you're going up and down all the time, then right now may not be the best time to try DMT, because this is an incredibly intense experience. Next, I will also say that it is wise to have some sort of spiritual practice in your life. People who are open-minded always tend to have a better and easier time navigating the DMT experience. Last point I will say here about how to prepare is that if this is your first psychedelic experience, if you've never tried any other psychedelic substance, I would really encourage you to consider trying psilocybin or some other psychedelic experience before moving on to DMT. Because if you don't have some familiarity with how profound and intense these psychedelic experiences can be, then you may find yourself having a really difficult and destabilizing DMT experience. Which brings me to the next question. Is it possible to have a bad trip on DMT? And the answer is yes, absolutely. Just like any psychedelic substance, it is 100% possible to have a very, very challenging trip on DMT that feels terrifying or, even hellish. Now, what I will say is that I've really come to see this idea of bad trips as being fundamentally flawed, because again and again, I've seen in myself and others around me that some of the most difficult experiences are actually where we're gaining the most. We're getting the most growth and healing and evolution and awakening out of those most difficult, challenging, scary experiences. So in that sense, they're really not a bad experience. Even for someone who's very experienced with psychedelics and who has tried DMT many times, there's always this possibility of having a challenging trip. And that's just something that you have to be prepared for, while also opening up to that broader wisdom that even in the challenging trips, that's when we are really learning and gaining and growing and evolving. Here's another question. Is DMT a spiritual experience? And I heard this quote one time that I think is really true for DMT and for all psychedelics. If you think that DMT is a spiritual experience, you will be proven correct. If you think that DMT is not a spiritual experience, you will also be proven correct. In many ways, it's what we're bringing to the experience and how we are the cognitive framework that we're using to understand and make sense of that experience in retrospect. Is DMT necessarily always a spiritual experience? No, absolutely not. I know on plenty of occasions, myself and my peers, people who have tried this and had just some kind of strange experience where they can't make any sense out of what just happened. There's no meaning. It doesn't feel spiritual in any way. It was just bizarre and odd and weird. At the same time, I would say that yes, in a way, this is absolutely a spiritual experience, because for me, speaking in my own direct experience, when it feels like you are having these out-of-body breakthrough experiences, it's very clear all of a sudden that there is more to what I am than a physical body, because you're experiencing it directly in that moment. That in that moment, you're no longer a human being. Like, all of your human identity has completely dissolved and faded away. You're just this pure awareness traveling through these DMT realms, and you're no longer confined by your human body. And so then it becomes very clear, like this spiritual inquiry, this question, who am I really? Like, is my human identity the deepest truth to who and what I am? Or is there some essence? Is there some life force, some spark of life, some pure awareness that is beyond this human lifetime? And for me, I would say that again and again and again and again, DMT confirmed to me that yes, absolutely, like there is so much more to this mystery of life than a physical universe, and there's so much more to the mystery of what we are than a physical body and a human identity. So in this way, DMT has actually been a tool, like a spiritual tool for inwards inquiry and self-exploration, exploring the mystery of the self. Is there any therapeutic potential to DMT? Can it be used to treat mental illness? This question is a little bit tricky for me because yes, I think there is therapeutic potential to DMT. Ayahuasca clearly has immense therapeutic potential in healing everything from depression, anxiety, trauma, and substance addiction. DMT, smoked DMT, on the other hand, in my perspective, it has less therapeutic utility or potential than psilocybin mushrooms, LSD, and ayahuasca for the following reason. It's such a rapid and intense experience. There's less time for you to really get in there and like work on yourself and engage with like whatever kind of like material is coming up that needs to be healed. So that's one thing. It's very intense and profound. It's very bizarre. Like a lot of times these experiences don't have anything to do with personal psychology. It's like you're in this other place and you can't really make any sense of it, and it's in that way DMT can in some cases be more destabilizing than healing because it's such a radical, like what the hell was that, you know? That in some cases I've seen this more like psychologically destabilizing, where it shakes someone to their very core and then they have to work to actually integrate this experience, versus they have this experience and it's lifting them up and boosting them. So I'll say that, while at the same time I've also heard on a number of occasions people who have healed treatment-resistant depression or anxiety just like that through one DMT experience. So is there therapeutic potential? Yes, absolutely. I would say please proceed with caution. I personally don't recommend DMT as like the first therapeutic course of action if you're trying to heal depression or anxiety or whatever it may be. I would definitely recommend first either ayahuasca or psilocybin mushrooms in a safe and secure, supportive setting. The next and last question I will answer in this video: are DMT experiences real? This is one of the most fascinating parts of the DMT experience, that when you are in the experience, it feels so real. It's very commonly described that it feels more real than this lifetime. Now, just because it feels real doesn't mean that it is real in any sense of the word. However, I'll say this. When people say this is just a hallucination caused by a chemical in the mind, every waking moment that we have is an experience that's mediated by the chemicals in the brain, by the neurochemistry. So who is to say that this neurochemical condition or state is more real or more valid than when you're on DMT? Now, in some cases, not all cases, but in some cases, I am convinced that DMT is not just a hallucination. This is opening up doors of perception that's giving us like an expanded awareness of layers or aspects of this reality, this existence that we can't perceive through our physical senses. If you compare DMT experiences to near-death experiences, as well as mystical experiences, there are incredible parallels and incredible overlaps. So what that means is we have millions of people from all over the world, from all different cultural and religious backgrounds, who have tried DMT, who have had mystical experiences, and they're all telling us the same things: that there is a spiritual essence to our being, that there's other realms and layers to this existence, that this is an interdimensional mystery, this mystery of life, and that ultimately all is one. That we are all expressions of a deeper, the infinite source of life, a deeper ultimate reality out of which we have all emerged. Just like how an astronomer needs a telescope to peer deep into space, and like how a biologist needs a microscope to peer into the fabric of space-time, in the same way, DMT could be a tool or a key for peering inwards into the mystery of consciousness itself and learning more about this mystery of life. So there we go. There are some of the most frequently asked questions about DMT, dimethyltryptamine, the spirit molecule. If there are any questions that I didn't get to which you're curious about, feel free to leave them in the comments section below and I'll leave a reply. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe and like if you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next video.